Welcome to Oyate Today. Oyate in Lakota means people. Brought to you by Native Sun News Today. Hi, welcome to Oyate Today. I am your host, Richie Richards. Oyate Today is produced by Tim and Jackie Gallego. Tim is an enrolled member of the Oglala Sioux tribe. Our guest today is Oglala Sioux tribal member Lynn Rapp. Ms. Rapp, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited for our discussion.
We have lots to talk about.
We do.
Yes.
We do. I'm very excited to have you here.
Thank you.
I understand you've worn several hats throughout your life and throughout
Yes.
your career, but you're currently involved with, you're a partner in Seacrest out of New York State, and you're also the president of Eagle Opportunity. Mm-hmm. So let's jump right in and start our conversation.
Okay.
Definitely. So as president of Eagle Opportunity, well, this is a business that works in economic development. Can you talk a little bit about that with us?
After many years in the financial services business, I realized that helping tribes was more than just taking care of their money. It was getting them to a spot where they could provide jobs and opportunity for their own people. So I created Eagle Opportunity, which works with individual tribes on different businesses, everything from solar projects to carbon credit sequestration situations, even cannabis.
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 Wow.
West Coast.
West Coast, yeah, definitely. I understand that this, you also work with tribes and other gaming entities.
Yes.
What are you involved in with them as far as the gaming goes?
On the gaming side, I'm not as involved except as it relates to horse racing. And one of my clients owns a horse racing business that you can handle on your cell phone. So there's two tribes that are negotiating for it now that will be part of their casino business, running horse racing, and the people can bet right from their phone.
So that would be an app for a phone?
It's an app for a phone.
Wow, isn't that something?
It's very cool.
Imagine. I understand you recently met with the Great Plains Tribal Chairmen's Association here in Rapid City. Is it something you want to share about that?
Absolutely. Probably one of the most important parts of my business now has to do with carbon sequestration. And that's where large tracts of land are put into a sequestration program so that they can be utilized to create credits that sell in a marketplace and offset the carbon footprint that huge corporations have and for which they are fined. So tribal entities own big stands of timber, the reason we're here is the large volume of grassland that are available across the tribes in South Dakota, and those can be put into these programs, utilizing them as they were before, keeping them in trust, but having income from them in addition to grazing income.
Yes. And so when you talk about offsetting the carbon footprint, what is that exactly? What does that mean exactly?
It's this way. Let's say you're Exxon and you're producing a whole lot of carbon out of your plants. You are fined for that by states. So we'll say you're California, in California. So that fine can be very expensive. So what these companies do is buy these credits that offset the carbon footprint that they're creating and reduce their fine. So if your carbon credit is, let's say $15 for a timber, or $14 for a timber credit, and your fine is $35, you'd have to be dead not to think you could save money by buying carbon credits. That's what the marketplace is. It's traded through markets in California and other places around the world. This is an international market.
Yes. And so I also understand that you're working with 3 tribes currently in the foreign trade zones. Could you talk with us about that?
Foreign trade zones are a fascinating thing. You know, we've got a unique situation with the administration we have in Washington now, who are trying to impose large tariffs, for example, on solar panels as they're imported into this country. And tribes have this opportunity to utilize their pre-existing foreign trade zones for importing these products. So if they can bring in, the tribe can import solar panels through the tribe, sell them on, hopefully onto other tribes, then the money, the tariffs would go to the tribal entity that has the free trade zone, as well as taxation, plus jobs. They have to run a large warehouse where you can bring these imports coming in. In 6 months, we'll be also importing pharmaceuticals.
Is that from any particular area or any particular?
We'll be importing the solar panels, probably from China, Germany, from the pharmaceuticals, anywhere around the world.
So is that going to, how does that, in regards to economic development, how does that help a tribe, say out in South Dakota or even on the west or east coast? How does that benefit tribes?
South Dakota doesn't have any foreign trade zones. So that would not benefit them, except that if they were to purchase products that came through the trade zone, it would be significantly cheaper because they don't have to pay the federal tariffs. They would pay the tribal tariff.
In essence, making those panels or those pharmaceuticals a lot cheaper to
Absolutely.
To get to the tribal communities then. Yes.
So it's a large marketplace. It's going to be very, very large on the pharmaceutical side.
I understand you're also working with West Coast tribes.
Yes.
What's going on over there?
Well, on the foreign trade side in Washington, but also we are working with tribes in California, Washington, and Oregon on their cannabis businesses. They are building large grow facilities. They are also working with local growers to have dispensaries right on the reservation where people can come in and purchase out of the dispensary, and it's legal because it's legal in the state.
That would be in Washington,
Oregon,
and California.
Nevada is also, but Nevada's one tribe there has just put in a very large dispensary right outside of Las Vegas. So they're already jumping into the marketplace with both feet.
And so for tribes in South Dakota where it's not medical or recreationally approved yet, you know, is there any hope for that in South Dakota?
On the hemp side.
On the hemp side.
Yes. And I have full support of the hemp endeavors that are going on the Pine Ridge.
Sure.
Absolutely want to stand behind that 100%. But as of right now, we're not working in the hemp marketplace.
And so what, just for a viewer who may not be, you know, I guess aware of the benefits of hemp, I mean, what does that do for the economy or for, you know, not necessarily just for the products, but the economy?
Well, the products themselves are very beneficial. You know, clothing, fabrics, on and on can be made out of hemp. In this country, or in this state, it would be, because we're so agriculture already, it would be a perfect addition to some of the large farms that the tribes have, that they could grow hemp and have a marketplace that is more than able to take all they could produce.
In the very conservative community that South Dakota
Yes.
is and has been over the years, it's hard to differentiate and separate hemp and marijuana.
Yes.
So there's an automatic assumption that hemp and marijuana are one and the same.
Absolutely
And so,
not.
When in actuality it's not.
No, hemp does not have the THC levels that marijuana carries. Marijuana has its own benefits. We all know there are medical benefits, and there are recreational use for that. Sure. But the majority of what we're going to be working on is medical.
It almost seems like hemp is a no-brainer for South Dakota and
Hemp
for tribes.
is a no-brainer for South Dakota.
Yes.
Yes.
And
we know how to grow things here.
Yes, definitely. We do have the land and the grasslands for it. So
Absolutely.
it does seem like a no-brainer. But
Absolutely.
Ms. Rapp, we're going to take a break here and get a word from our sponsors. When we get back, I want to learn a little bit more about some of the other endeavors, and I have a very special surprise for our viewers in some of the athletes that you're working with. So we'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
You know, it's really busy in the coffee house, not just in the morning, but all day long. And it's really important that we serve our customers hot coffee, coffee that's ready for them when they're ready for it.
We get that, Michelle. And our team at Black Hills Energy will make sure you have the electricity you need to keep that Java nice and hot. Speaking of hot Java, how about a cup for the road? Black Hills Energy. Life sponsored by Energy.
Nia na mie, ehash unkichi trokecha shni. Wiki ampete yuchla hinapcha, cha wamblake sa. Nish wiki walaka cha, hechetu wanjicha. Mitakuye oyasi.
Native Sun News has been voted the best weekly newspaper in its class for 2015 by the South Dakota and North Dakota Newspaper Associations. You can find a copy of the Native Sun News at many businesses and vending machines in Rapid City and the surrounding area, and on all 9 reservations. We publish every Wednesday, so advertisers and subscribers can reach our diverse readership by calling 605-721-1266. The Native Sun News covers the other side of the story.
More than 2 million men and women have served in our military since 9/11. Now, many of them are transitioning back into civilian life. They're considering career options, writing resumes, starting businesses. ACP AdvisorNet can help. ACP AdvisorNet is a nonprofit online community where Americans can offer career advice to those who have served. Now we can serve those who've served us by helping them to find their next career. Visit acpadvisornet.org.
Hi, welcome back to Oyate Today. I'm your host, Richie Richards. Our guest once again is Miss Lynn Rapp, an Oglala Sioux tribal member and very heavily involved in our community in regards to economic development and many other endeavors. So once again, I thank you for being here, Miss Rapp.
Thank you.
And I understand you're a partner with Seacrest, which is a business out of New York State. Could you talk to me a little bit about that?
I came to Seacrest from managing money for 2 firms, Piper Jaffray and then Morgan Stanley, where I was a senior vice president. And I oversaw the asset management programs that they had for tribes that we created. In 2008, a group of us, 4 of us, pretty senior people, left Morgan Stanley to create Seacrest. And it, right at the height of the worst time ever to create a firm, but it has worked well. Seacrest manages assets, most of which are fixed income assets for institutions like different insurance companies, institutions like businesses, and tribes around the country.
And I understand some of your work is with tribal colleges then.
Yes, over the years I have worked extensively with tribal colleges. I hate to say this, it's my age, but I was there when many of those colleges were started and managed their first monies. So their welfare means a lot to me, which is why I'm now on the board of the American Indian College Fund, where I'm also on a committees that oversee the financial needs of that large scholarship fund.
Sure. Could you tell me a little bit about some of the challenges that the American Indian College Fund now faces, some of the benefits to, obviously there's benefits to students and facilities, but
yes.
What are some of the challenges that you're dealing with currently with the American Indian College Fund?
Well, the challenges are always that there is more need than we have available resources. The need comes from the individual students and the institutions. We provide income for both. So raising funds is our primary job. We are out there in the marketplace as a fundraiser on the nonprofit side, of course, to provide this opportunity for students. And we've been there. We were created by what is called AHEC, the American Indian Higher Education Consortium.
Sure.
And many people from this local area were part of that early on. People like Dave Archambault and others who were college presidents at that time.
Yes.
Lionel Bordeaux.
And so, I don't know if you're able to share that, but who are some of the people or some of the main funders for programs like the American Indian College Fund? Who do you reach out to for those? Is it, you know, corporations? Is it tribes? Is it, I guess
It's
I can't.
both.
Really?
Yes. We have a three-pronged approach right now. We're working with major companies. AT&T is a very large supporter of ours. Walmart, on and on. The major corporations have come to our benefit. We also work with individual donors. So we have a program where we solicit funds from wealthy people and from everyone else who feels that their contribution could make a difference for an Indian student. And so we have a marketing campaign that focuses just on that. Then we're also really moving forward on working with tribes that have money. There are a lot of wealthy tribes, not a lot, but there are some. And we want them to feel very comfortable investing their money in our tribal or in our college students. So some of them have come forward with big checks.
Yes, I could imagine. Definitely some of those East Coast and West Coast tribes are, you know, have a lot of money coming into their books and such. In regard, what else are you involved in with this particular program with Seacrest?
Seacrest mainly manages assets. We are a pretty simplistic situation. A tribe, for example, will have accounts. Maybe it's their minor trust account. Maybe it's a retirement plan for their employees, on and on. Each one of those need to be managed effectively to get the best return possible. And that's our job at Seacrest.
And so how many tribes do you think that you work with, and directly or
Now?
indirectly? Yes.
Through Seacrest, I believe we're at about 8 or 10, including tribal colleges.
Is that locally then as well?
Local as well as national.
Wow, that's good news. That's awesome. I understand that you have a ranch here out by
Yes.
Cooney Table on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. Can you talk to me a little bit about your ranch out there?
You bet. Multi-generational ranch, still in operation with Angus cattle, and doing a very good job with that, have for many generations, and in the same place. We haven't moved very far. But we are also in the working process now of building a large solar farm on that land. On our Mother's Trust land, we have worked with the tribe to get their approval. We have all of the approvals necessary from the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Our developers are German. They just left last weekend, as a matter of fact.
This is very recent then.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Well, we've been at it for 3 years. This is
Okay.
not an easy process.
Sure.
There are so many regulations, so many niches that have to be filled.
Could you, I always wanted to know what is some of the holdup in some of this. So when you talk
Oh,
about the regulations, what are some of those?
The main one, for example, stopped the project at Rosebud, is lack of transmission availability. We are fortunate. We are 7 miles to the Western Area Power Authority line, also known as WAPA, which is now Southwest Power Pool. And we can access getting onto the grid easily. Many tribes don't have that availability because that big grid lines don't run through their nation or beside their nation. So lack of transmission is a big one. The other one is the land availability. With land being so fractionated, tribes don't have so many owners of pieces of land that they would like to put a solar farm on, that getting approval from all of them is complicated, to say the least.
So would the Oglala Sioux tribe benefit from your solar?
Absolutely, in several ways. Depending on where it's metered, they would receive the sales tax. Depending on the size of the of the fund or fields. They would also have many opportunities for jobs, especially during the construction phase.
Sure. Ms. Rapp, we're going to take a break here and get a word from our sponsors. When we get back, I want to learn a little bit more about some of the things you've been involved with,
Okay.
with your career. So we'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
Don't let me show evil, though it might be all I take. Show me love, show me love, show me love.
I got a crick in my neck, limp in my step, cramping in my muscles every time I try to flex. I don't know what else to get on. It's very sad, no more love. All that I can do was remember you. You know I usually say no, but if you throw me love, I'll throw you some more.
Being connected to him with the earth.
Positive pride. Pride of being Lakota.
Look around you and look at your culture. Look at the people who care about you. There is hope. There is always hope. There will always be hope.
Suicide isn't the Lakota way. If someone you know needs help, please call 867-HOPE, a public service message from the Lakota Voice Project.
I used to think news is news. It's all the same, but it's not. There's a big difference between local broadcast news and cable news. See, local stations are part of my community, connecting me to local news, weather, and sports on every device. It makes sense. Get the news from the people I trust who actually live here. No agenda, no bias like on cable shout shows or social media, just facts. For news I can trust, I stay local. Support your local stations. Text TV to 52886 today.
Hi, welcome back to Oyate Today. I'm your host, Richie Richards. Our guest once again is Miss Lynn Rapp from the Oglala Sioux Tribe. Ms. Rapp, could you talk, before the break we were talking about solar energy, and bringing a solar farm to the Oglala Sioux Tribe. Could you expand a little bit on that and talk about some of the future projects with that particular project?
Absolutely. We have learned a lot. And I think as far as size goes, we'll be one of the first very large size solar farms in Indian country. We're shooting for 110 to 140 megawatts to start, moving up to 300 or 400 in second and third stage.
Wow.
So it is a major undertaking. Much opportunity can be created because that's going to be bringing a lot of money to that region. We're in a very isolated place. I mean, you know where we are.
Sure.
And it is not going to be inconveniencing anyone around it. So we've passed all the environmental requirements, social requirements, archaeological requirements, etc. So we know how to do that. Next stage will be working with other tribes to develop their systems. And our developers are most excited about working with us on that.
So is this kind of something that's going to kind of expand in the area more or less then? Is there,
Absolutely.
you're already in talks and discussions with others then?
We are in talks with tribes that have access to the grid. And I think I mentioned that in the previous segment. Sure. The problem that most have is that they can't transmit it. You can produce it, but if you can't send it on, it's useless.
Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned before, this has been a 3-year process just for this.
Yes.
Yes. And so what's taken that 3 years, I guess? What's been kind of holding that up, or what's the main thing that kind of stops something, I mean, holds something like this up?
Nothing has really held it up. It just takes time. You have to deal with the Bureau of Indian Affairs for your leases because the land is in trust. You have to deal with a separate section of the Bureau for the archaeological and cultural assessments, and those take months. You have to have the environmental assessments done. We don't want to be in a situation where a ground beetle will stop us, like it did, the little turtles did at Moapa in Arizona.
Yeah.
We don't want that, or Nevada, excuse me. We are very conscientious about our environment.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk. I understand you're a registered nurse at one
I
point.
am.
You switched careers,
Yes.
and you've gone on and done things in economic development and other areas.
Mm-hmm.
But I also understand that you've been recently, partnered up with Dr. Julius Irving on projects.
Yes.
Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
A couple of years ago, I was introduced to a couple of pro athletes through my economic work. Actually, one of them heard me speak at an Indian conference. I have found that professional athletes are, first of all, fascinated with what's going on in Indian country and have a real commitment to it. And not only that, many of them say, my family says we're part Native. And they're probably right.
Yes, definitely.
Coming out of the South, you bet they are. And so they have a real commitment to it. So in that endeavor, we've done multiples of businesses with tribes. Right now we're working with one major athlete on a cannabis project in Washington. So the business goes on. They're very tall, but they're smart guys.
They are. They're very conscientious, and a lot of them are
Yes.
highly educated.
Absolutely.
Not only from public institutions, but they're also just have that kind of that organic scholarship that, they're just very conscious people.
And environmentally conscious and socially conscious.
Very much so. So their investment in tribal communities isn't so much just about a return on their investment, but they're really invested in the people, it sounds like.
Producing jobs is the criteria that we have for bringing any business to a tribe. We want it to give back.
And not to mention, many young athletes look up to people like these. You mentioned AC Green at one point, Dr. J. And so having them come back and give them more than just, how to be a good athlete, but how to be a good human being is very key to their success.
It is. And people love when we bring athletes to national events. It's a major occasion when Julius comes to NIGA. People appreciate the fact that he is there and that he understands the issues that are going on in Indian country.
And that's key when you say he understands. He is aware. He's conscientious of what we're dealing with.
Absolutely.
In an up-to-date, modern context, definitely. Well, Ms. Rapp, I want to thank you for our conversation this evening. It's been very enlightening and very fun. I want to thank our sponsors, I want to thank our producers, and I want to thank you for making Oyate Today a part of your night. You've been watching Oyate Today, brought to you by Native Sun News Today.
Yeah.